Hello everyone, welcome back for day 3 in our lesson this week. We've been focusing on the tribe of Dan and some of the decisions they made that led them away from the path that God had initially intended for them to take. Yesterday we talked about and wrapped up the lesson with understanding that false doctrine is extremely dangerous. Not only, we may say, well, I understand I'm not supposed to, receive and accept false doctrine, but even associating with it will put us in a place where it may be hard to discern the difference, and we make it comfortable because it feels good to feel our flesh, encouraged, or it feels good to have our ideas encouraged, and it makes us feel like, I kind of know what I'm doing here. And so we see that the tribe of Dan, they relied on this false prophet to give them encouragement and to support their goal that was against what God had wanted. So the tribe of Dan made a mistake that often is very common to all of us, and that's they walk by sight rather than trusting and obeying God. This land, this Laish, looked appealing. The 5 spies even testified in Judges, "We have seen the land, and behold, it's very good." They later described it as a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth. It had it all. The alternate name for this city was Leshem, which even means precious stone. But all that looks good is not necessarily good, and all that looks good is certainly not always what God has prepared for our lives. The scouts' report on Laish in Judges 18:9 echoes kind of Eve's assessment of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil in Genesis 3:6. Eve went astray when she saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired makes one wise. Eve sinned when she was tempted in 3 key areas: the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. 3 traps that the New Testament warns us about in 1 John 2:16. Making important life decisions based solely on our physical eyes and our physical senses will no doubt lead us to trouble. Dan did something else that is common in our day. They pretended that nothing was wrong. After annihilating the citizens of this city of Laish in battle and reducing the city to a pile of ash, Dan cleared the rubble and they built another city. They christened their new community Dan, after the name of Dan, their father, this father of this tribe. Interestingly, the writer of Judges concluded the same verse by adding, "Howbeit the name of the city was Laish at the first." The members of the tribe of Dan may have been able to deceive themselves and kind of fool themselves into thinking that their new city was their God-appointed home, but no one else was fooled by this. Many of us have a knack for convincing ourselves that our disobedience is really obedience in an alternate form. Like King Saul, we proclaim, "I've performed the commandment of the Lord." But God responded by asking, why are these sheep here? God told King Saul, obliterate everything, don't leave anything left. But instead of doing that, Saul said, well, I'm going to obliterate everything but the good things, and then of the good things, I'll give that to God, and then he'll be pleased. No, God will not be pleased with alternate obedience, because alternate obedience is disobedience to what God initially said. It's important that we understand this. It's easy for us as human beings to get caught up in this, and you see this at the very beginning of the Bible, in the very beginning of mankind. We see Cain and Abel. Obviously, there must have been something that was set up where God expressed what it should be, but instead of following that, Cain said, well, I'll give what I have. I'll make kind of my own way. It's still an offering to God, so I'm sure he'll be happy with it. Or whatever the case may have been, it was an alternate form of obedience, which actually is disobedience. We have to be careful not to get caught up in that. Fooling ourselves is easy, but deceiving a God who is the discerner of the thoughts and the intents of the heart is impossible. We cannot get caught up in trying to find our own way or trying to find our own route to obeying God. If God lays it out, we need to follow it. We shouldn't be deviating. If God lays out this path, we shouldn't be looking for alternate ways to get there. We should just trust him. And I know that's hard, and I say it very easily in front of the camera, but it is difficult to trust God. But if we will just get it in our heads and we will focus on the end result, if I trust God, versus the end result, if I try it my own way, we know, down deep in our hearts, we know what way is going to be right, what way is going to come out better. Our plans may seem great, but if it is not complete obedience to God, we're disobeying Him, and we're going to end up in a place like the tribe of Dan. I hope again that this message has pricked your heart today. It will cause you to think about what you're doing and the decisions you're making, and maybe cause you to think about and pray about a decision that you're about to make, and understand that if it's not directly in obedience to God, it is not in His will. And we need to make sure that we are lined up with God's word, that we are listening to the voice of our pastor, we are listening to that voice of God that has been given to us, and we are following His plan. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and that you will join us again here for tomorrow. Take care.